Hey friends, Dr. Motley here. Happy New Year 2021. Today I wanted to talk to you about New Year's resolutions, new changes. Are you planning a new diet in 2021? And if you are, does it stress you out? I also wanted to ask the question, do you think a new diet, is the best way to start a healthy lifestyle? Well, according to research, some say no. They say that when you start a new path, it all starts with belief. What you believe about yourself, how you view yourself. Are you kind to yourself? I want to go through this in a biochemistry way because I like to talk about biochemistry, but I want to show you that changing a new pattern takes time. So they say it all starts with how you view yourself from the last year. You may have not eaten the way you wanted to or eaten things that weren't very good for you, but remember, old patterns are programmed into your brain and they also shift your biochemistry in your brain chemistry. When you eat certain foods in an old pattern, it changes the serotonin and dopamine levels in your brain because you find pleasure or happiness from the old pattern of eating. And furthermore, when you have this pattern that's built up over the last year, and in one day you expect to change that whole pattern, that neurological pattern of eating in one day, according to research, is not the best avenue to start a new healthy program. You have to give yourself time because you've been programmed to think and eat a certain way. Now, you have to repeat things to create change neurologically. So let's keep that in mind. The next thing is, after you've eaten, you have some regret, and then you start to have a negative self-image, a negative body image of yourself. And so you start to feel bad and you want to change drastically. And so you'll take a detox or do a detox. You start to stop eating certain types of food or do a cleanse, which are all good in themselves, but maybe not the best time to implement them at the very beginning of the year. And here's a few explanations why this may be. If you take away foods that you really love, you start to feel maybe a little better. And over time though, that program, the old program, starts to kick in. You start to get hungry. You start to remember the old eating habits, the old foods that actually brought you pleasure and happiness. And so you start to feel deprived, a little tense, a little frustrated, a little hopeless. And so when you miss the old programming, the way you used to eat, your body can start to become frustrated because you start to be a little more hungrier for the things that you used to have. And so it can actually make you stressed. It can actually increase the cortisol levels in your body. And cortisol is directly related to the fight or flight syndrome. So you have heightened amounts of cortisol that are in the body. And what does cortisol do? Cortisol is a stress hormone. So you're stressed about your new eating habit. You're missing the old pattern. And so this cortisol does what? Takes the proteins and amino acids out of your liver and out of the tissues of your muscles and actually converts them to new sugar. It's called gluconeogenesis. So you have this new sugar that's in the blood because in a way your body thinks it's starving. Does that make sense? The old pattern of eating is so programmed in your brain that you miss it. And so your body thinks, I'm starving. I can't eat the way I used to eat. So something is wrong. And then cortisol levels go up. So you have heightened amounts of cortisol in the blood, keeping sugar in your blood, because not only does it create new sugar, it also limits or stops or hinders the amount of sugar going into the cells. It wants to keep it in the bloodstream because it's there ready for you in the fight or flight response, the sympathetic state. So you're in fight or flight, you're tense, you're agitated, cortisol is keeping sugar in your blood. So then, how does your body counteract it? Well, you feel like you're starving, so your body starts to create insulin and pumps out insulin from the pancreas and starts to pull in that sugar, and the sugar wants to get into the cell. But what happens when the cell gets too overfilled with sugar? The cell starts to become insulin resistant. And so it starts to what? Reject the sugar from entering into the cell. So whenever the insulin is signaling to the cell to pull in sugar, the cell's like, I can't, I'll die. So it becomes insulin resistance. And now you have sugar that can't get into the cells, and now you have all this free sugar. So what does your body do? Anytime you have excess sugar in the body will convert that into triglycerides. Your body will take sugar and make it into adipose cells, into fat cells. And so you can start to gain weight. And usually when it's adrenaline or cortisol that's creating some of this sympathetic state, it'll become around the mid-gut, around the mid-waist. So you start seeing weight gain around the stomach area. It can be in other areas too. So you see, you have cortisol levels getting high, then insulin levels getting raised up, and furthermore, when you're in sympathetic fight or flight, it aggravates the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is the nerve in your body that helps regulate the balance between the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. Parasympathetic being a relaxed state, sympathetic being heightened. So you have this quandary. Your vagus nerve is being agitated because you're so tense and frustrated for not being able to eat the way you want to eat or the way you used to. That makes your body produce more ghrelin. And so ghrelin is a hormone that creates hunger. So it starts to be developed in the stomach, starts to be created in the stomach, and you become hungrier. You feel like you're starving. And then you want to eat foods that contain more starches or carbs or sugars and fats because you feel like you're starving. So you'll crave creamier, richer foods. And you start to eat these foods because you feel like you're hungry. And you are, because you're living in the old programming. Remember, you try to set one goal to start right now, and your body says, hey, I need time to develop a new habit. So when you eat the old habit or old way and you start to indulge and you overeat, you start to feel a little guilty. So you see, you start to feel guilty, you start to feel shame, you start to have a negative body image. And so the pattern repeats itself. You start to have stress, more cortisol, more insulin, more adipose cells, more fat cells being created. Well, a few simple steps through research has been said that can help you with this pattern. They say, take it easy on yourself. Stop stressing out. Give yourself a bit of grace, a little time. When you start to practice kindness to yourself, and it's called practice, you have to practice kindness, you want to develop a habit out of it. Why? Research shows that if you repeat something, think something, say something 800 to 1,000 times, it becomes a belief. That's why they say successful people create habits over 30 to 60 days, but you want to repeat or think or believe something 800 to 1,000 times, which means it may take a while to create this new habit. Well, it's repetition in what? In being kind to yourself. You want to repeat this pattern. And when you repeat this pattern of being kind, you operate out of a place of kindness to yourself. So when you change the belief about being kind to yourself, then you operate and choose new changes in your life that will be kind to you. You don't choose things that put you into a tense fight or flight response. You see how it works? Be in a kind state. When you make changes from a state of self-appreciation and kindness, those are the changes that last. Guys, I hope this helped. Remember, take it easy on yourself, be kind to yourself, be appreciative for your body, for the way you are, and operate out of that state. Guys, have a great week. Take it easy. Talk soon.